Hi, I'm Agent Ford. Do you think you can help me solve another true crime mystery? Tatiana Spitzner was a 29-year-old lawyer, an accomplished and strong woman who found herself trapped in an abusive relationship, which ultimately resulted in her brutal murder. The harrowing footage of the last moments captured via different security cameras left people appalled and drew more concern over the increasingly rising problem that is violence against women. Tatiana Spitzner had so much more to give. Nonetheless, she will forever be remembered for her desperate fight for life against her hulking husband. Guarapuava, South Brazil, July 22, 2018. Tatiana Spitzner and her 32-year-old husband, Luiz Felipe Manvialer, are spending the night out when something between the couple snaps. A few hours later, once back home, their neighbors call the police after hearing her screaming. When authorities arrive, Tatiana's body and broken corpse is waiting for them inside the couple's apartment. As his psychological report reads, Luiz doesn't remember what happened. However, unlucky for him, numerous security cameras from the streets and the building's elevator leave no doubts. CCTV strong images from the traffic light security cameras show Luiz, a jiu-jitsu martial arts specialist and visibly hulking man, slapping his wife several times across the face in their car while she tries to fight him off. The sickening violence lingers in the underground car park, where Tatiana is physically assaulted, kicked, throttled, and chased across an underground car park and into the elevator, where another security camera catches more horrifying videos. Never giving up hope and repeatedly trying to escape her nightmare, harmless Tatiana is brutally battered, overpowered, and restrained until the elevator doors open again and the two enter their apartment. What is not on the footage is the 15 minutes of alleged brutality inside the couple's apartment. Shortly after, however, the woman's body dives to the floor outside the building. Luiz appears 2 more times on the elevator security camera's footage. The first time, he's going downstairs. Then, a few moments after, he's back in the elevator with his wife's lifeless body in his arms, apparently cleaning traces of blood off the walls. When police officers arrive on the scene after being called by some neighbors who have heard the woman scream, they find Tatiana Spitzner's body in the apartment, but Luiz is gone. A distressing record of the chilling events that led to Tatiana's brutal death gives a graphic insight into the domestic abuse she suffered on that fateful night, and that apparently she had been suffering for months. Husband psychological terror and husband verbal aggression were some of the searches that Tatiana made on the internet in December of 2017, 7 months before her death. Close friends of hers claim she revealed that she was afraid of her husband, accused of mistreating her, and wanted a divorce. According to Luiz's lawyer, however, the couple had a happy relationship. On the run, Luiz Felipe was arrested on suspicion of murder some 300 kilometers from the city after crashing on a motorway. He claimed Tatiana killed herself by jumping off the window while fighting. He fled because he was too disturbed by the images of his wife jumping to stay. "I can't remember what happened," he said to the police. "I'm just in a state of shock." Tatiana's death caused national outrage and prompted a countrywide debate on domestic abuse and the vulnerability of women in Brazil, a country where the victims of femicide the year before were the frighteningly high number of 1,133. When the autopsy results arrived, almost 2 months after the horrific crime occurred, things got even worse. Forensic investigators concluded that Tatiana did not die because of the fall, but was instead strangled while still in the couple's apartment. She was choked to death while desperately trying to defend herself. The imprints of the man's hands were found on her throat, and the hyoid bone was fractured, an injury commonly associated with strangulation. Of course, her body also suffered multiple fractures from the fall. Still, according to the forensic investigations report, there was no evidence of any chemical reactions such as adrenaline and cortisol traces in her body that would indicate fear and an awareness of plummeting to the ground. She was already dead by the time she hit the ground. She didn't jump. Our investigation proves that the victim was killed inside the apartment by asphyxiation, and her body was thrown over the balcony of the apartment. We believe the accused then took the elevator to the ground floor and collected Tatiana's body, taking it back up to the apartment in the elevator, said criminal prosecutor Dunia Rampazzo. Before she was killed, Luis subjected his wife to a prolonged period of violent physical aggression. He concluded, "This was not a suicide, but femicide." Surrounded by the evidence, Luis Felipe Manvillar was charged with murder, incarceration of the victim, and procedural fraud. The magistrate declared that even if Luis had not assaulted his wife before the day of the murder, it was easy to see the situation of psychological violence present in the couple's apartment in the victim's reports about a year earlier. For a long time, the victim had been suffering from the aggressive and contemptuous attitudes of the convict, which left her emotionally shaken to the point of maintaining an abusive relationship. He stressed. Luis is still waiting for his trial, which has been postponed twice due to the COVID-19 pandemic. Tatiana was keeping to herself daily all the hardships of gross, aggressive, and indifferent attitudes of the person for whom she had a loving feeling. The magistrate concluded, and she deserves justice. Tatiana Spitzner is today a symbol of femicide. The stomach-turning images of how she fought life to escape the man she had loved and trusted were taken as an example of the far broader problem of domestic violence and femicide in Latin America and worldwide. After her death, hundreds of people dressed in white marched in Rio de Janeiro to mourn her loss and demand justice. Tatiana's father, Jorge Spitzner, was there too, and called out the significant and constantly increasing problem that is femicide in an interview, where he called it the plague of our country. He has lost his daughter to this, and it's unacceptable that so many women are losing their lives to the hands of men they love and trust. Let me know what you guys think about this case in the comments below. I always look forward to reading your interesting theories.
If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to hit that like button and share it with your fellow investigators. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Hit that notification bell so you never miss a case. With that being said, stay safe, and I'll see you guys at the next crime scene.